The Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, has recently opened a new exhibit titled Ours the Zia Sun. The exhibit, open to the public from now until October, highlights multiple aspects of the Zia symbol's impact and meaning in the state of New Mexico, such as the background of the symbol and its story told through historic events and artifacts, how iconography and appropriation has negatively impacted the symbol and the Zia Pueblo as a whole, how the symbol is a staple of New Mexican pride in the different ways that it is portrayed, and the true spiritual meaning of each ray of the Zia Sun that is beyond our basic knowledge of the symbol.
We kind of gathered just a bunch of logos that feature the Zia Sun. The Zia Sun, people know, they see it everywhere, and it's definitely a symbol of what New Mexico is. And so a lot of people incorporate it into their logo in some way to say they're affiliated with the state or just like state pride in some way. But over time, like, those uses of the symbols are not approved by Zia Pueblo, or they're not rightly affiliated with Zia. So you see the Zia symbol, you know what it's called, but a lot of people miss that it's connected to the tribe itself. And so there's a couple businesses and a couple places that have reached back out to Zia and asked for permission for use. And Zia ultimately, in their goal, when they're talking to people, is they just want funding and support for their youth. And so when it comes into a commercial realm like this, when you're making money off of the symbol, it's kind of hurtful for them because it's such a sacred thing. And so when people approach them about using it, it's more so about just like, how can you repatriate a little bit of what you're using the symbol for back to our community, to serve our community needs, to serve our youth, to go to higher education, to be able to use the legal system in the way that it hasn't been used from their own community's perspective.
It was like everyone, that it's a very attractive symbol and it adapts well to a lot of logos. I was covering the legislature for the Albuquerque Tribune when the Zia tribe first raised the issue of reparations for its use by the state, and covered that as a story at the time. That was probably my first recognition that this was a more layered issue than it appears. I want to see an effort made to educate people as to the importance of this symbol and our collective need to honor it.
The Zia Sun, you know, there's different ways to view it, and then there's a Pueblo way to view it, which is our main purpose in here, is to promote the Pueblo perspective. I think it's like whispered in the winds of that people kind of get the idea that the four represents something for each side, but not necessarily that it's like ingrained in everybody's mind. It's always just ingrained as a New Mexico symbol, not a Zia symbol. For me, this whole thing kind of focuses on just like the question of what is appropriation, what is appropriate, what is disrespectful, and that's ultimately what all of this has come out of and through. Learning about, you know, an origin of something and how important that was to certain people, and applying that to myself. And I mean, that's kind of the whole point of bringing this, is posing that question for people to evaluate in themselves. It's not necessarily that there's a right or wrong way to use the Zia symbol, but that there's a right or wrong way to approach it. And it's really should be based in that education and that knowledge and the interest and respect for the Zia people.